Hey everyone, I'm Megan. And I'm Jessie. Hey Megan, my dad told me you're going on a trip, but I forgot the name of the place. Where are you going again?
I'm going to Mexico. We are riding in an airplane to get there.
Wow, I've never been on an airplane. Where's Mexico, Megan?
Let me show you on this globe. So, let's see. We live way up here. And our airplane is going to Mexico, which is down here. Our church goes on a mission trip to Mexico every summer.
Wow, a mission trip. What was that?
Well, a mission trip is when you travel somewhere to tell people the good news about Jesus. On this trip, we are teaching kids about Jesus. So we'll teach a Bible story, do art together, and play games.
Whoa, that sounds like so much fun. So, mission trip. That kind of sounds like that word, missionary.
Yes, that's right, Jessie. We will be missionaries in Mexico. We will teach kids the good news about Jesus.
Amazing. Hey, wait a minute. So, Paul was a missionary too, right?
Good memory, Jessie. We've been learning from the Bible about Paul and how he was a missionary. He told people about Jesus. Today, our story is about when Paul returned to Jerusalem. Paul loved Jesus. He traveled around to many cities and told people about Jesus. Paul wanted to go to Jerusalem. On his way there, a man named Agabus visited Paul. He had a message from God. Agabus took Paul's belt and tied it around his own hands and feet. God says that when you go to Jerusalem, the Jewish people will tie you up like this, Agabus said. When Paul's friends heard what Agabus said, they asked Paul not to go. Paul said, "Don't cry. I am ready to be tied up. I am even ready to give up my life to tell people about Jesus." When Paul got to Jerusalem, the Christians there were happy to see him. Paul told them stories about what God was doing for the Gentiles, people who were not Jews. People from other nations heard the good news about Jesus and trusted in Jesus. The Christians heard this and praised God. But not everyone was happy about Paul and the work he was doing as he followed God's plan. Some of the Jews who became Christians were saying things about Paul that were not true. They were upset with Paul. One day, Paul went to the temple. Some of the Jews saw Paul and they began shouting at him. A big crowd of people grabbed Paul and dragged him out of the temple. They wanted to hurt Paul. When this was happening, someone left and told the Roman commander. The commander and his army rushed to Paul to find out what was going on. The crowds were so angry, the commander told his soldiers to take Paul somewhere safe. But before Paul left, he spoke to all the people. Paul talked about his life before he met Jesus. He had tried hard to follow all the rules, but then Jesus came to Paul and changed his life. The people were listening, but then Paul said, "God sent me to tell the Gentiles about Jesus too." The people in the crowd did not like Gentiles, so they didn't want to listen to Paul anymore. The soldiers took Paul inside where he would be safe until he could have a fair trial to decide if he had done anything wrong. Paul followed God's plan even though he faced danger. Paul believed that God, who kept his promise to raise Jesus from the dead, would help him too. We can follow God's plan to tell others about Jesus, even when it's hard.